Welcome to the lightning round. This is a little bit of bonus content, and no, the people that we are interviewing have no idea what these questions are, which makes it lots of fun. So we are going to get started with Scott and Neil. Thank you for being here,
Bring it.
Scott, and for being a part of this. All right, he's ready. I love it. All right, first question. What inspired you all to create a whiskey company altogether?
Because we spent a tremendous amount of time drinking it, we figured what we didn't drink, we'd sell.
Brilliant. See, that's
Find
perfect.
the passion and make it a business. How about that?
I think a lot of people would agree with that. So that's perfect.
Yeah.
All right, next question. What is it like owning a business with your fellow Green Berets and the same men you bravely fought alongside of?
Every day it's a joy and a pain because we know each other and we argue a lot like brothers. You know, we always hear about the family business. You know what I mean? But we also know about the Thanksgivings that can go horribly wrong. The part about working with friends is you do know your strengths and equally the weaknesses of the team, so we can cover, and we can cover more ground together.
And just knowing what you guys went through, I bet you guys know each other better than some brothers out there
We know
that are
smells.
actually blood related.
We know smells and perspirations, you know, and we know more than our wives know of each other. How about that?
Probably more than you ever want to know about someone else, but
we know them. You know what I mean? We didn't want to know them, but we just know them.
That's situational. That's right. So, okay, next question. How does your training as a Green Beret lend itself to being an entrepreneur and business owner?
Well, Green Berets are more like mountain men. You hear the fanciness of Navy SEALs, great hair care product and Speedos. You know, Delta Force is in and out, right? So we have jokes about all the other sister services, but we're family. We'll fight everybody else equally too. Green Berets are expeditionary entrepreneurs. We were sent to the farthest edges with almost little to no resources, dropped off and told to survive on our own. So this is the perfect kind of startup culture that we learned in the service that we applied to the business we started a few years ago.
Absolutely, and I'm an entrepreneur.
Nothing about this business.
Well.
Had no clue, no experience other than the other side of the bar and being, you know, certified alcoholics. But I'm just jesting there. We love the culture of sitting with friends and having a cigar and having a drink and telling long stories. And we just discovered how the journey, how to make it, became our passion.
Well, and owning a business isn't easy, but what you guys had been through wasn't easy either. So, I mean, it all
helped
you get through it.
There we go. I think pursuit of passion, right? The pursuit of passion means you're so driven and focused. You don't want to let your friends down, just like a special forces team, right? So we would have an intelligence section. We would have a psychological section, which is marketing, right? We would have a command element. We would have supply and logistics, and that's your funding and financing. So we didn't go too far from our culture, right, that we were familiar with, but it took us a while to understand the language of business. And once we did, I can have the best conversation with any hedge fund, investor, banking group, or producer, supplier. I know because I know my business.
You're right, though. There's a lot of things that correlate with both of the things that you've done. And you wouldn't really think about that, but they kind of do connect. So, okay, you got to be honest here. What were your initial feelings after learning that you would be traveling through Afghanistan on horses?
Yes. Yes.
No way.
This is how it ends, right? Remember, we're all Peter Pans, and the horses. Mark, the commander who Chris Hemsworth played,
right,
actually grew up on a working cattle ranch. I grew up doing a little bit of rodeo. You know, some other guys rode quarter horses, those little quarters you put in a horse in Walmart. Right?
Right.
So it's the adaptation. Remember, those were just techniques. So Green Berets on their patch had 3 lightning bolts, and that's sea, land, and air insertion. Well, now we need a 4th one, and that's apparently through a Pegasus, right?
A Pegasus, yes.
You adapt, and that's why they sent us. Immediately, it's like, that's how you ride, that's how I ride. Now, how do you ride again? Right?
Wow.
And who gave up their horse so you could ride it?
Unbelievable. Absolutely. I love it. I love it so much. I don't know how you guys did it, but you're amazing. Okay. How did you quickly develop trust with the militia allies?
That is our specialty, is through storytelling. We told them the story of America, which most of these villagers were A lot of them were illiterate and they'd never been more than a mile outside their village. They don't know what the USA is. Why are you here? Well, then we shared that we were attacked ruthlessly. Our family members and our countrymen were killed without. In Afghan lore, before you fight a battle, you actually have tea that morning and you negotiate the battle. It's just part of the way they do it in their history. So when we told them that we were attacked cowardly by people from that were also attacking them, we had a shared story of sacrifice. And we said, we're not here to do it ourselves. We are here to help you defend yourself.
Wow, absolutely incredible. But you're right. When it's shared like that, a shared mission becomes even stronger. Yeah. Okay, going into your memory bank, what is the thing you remember most about the Task Force Dagger mission?
So the thing I remember most is, we didn't have a lot to eat. They didn't have a lot either. And I remember the first time they brought a chicken out because they learned that Americans like chicken better than goat. Well, they really didn't know how to carve up the chicken, so they beat it flat with a hammer, and they put it on the grill, and I said, wow, we're having stomped chicken. And it's just the humor of life, the kids playing with things. And remember, it's not two warriors head-to-head jousting on horses. It's getting ready for breakfast. It's taking your socks off and you look over and they have nothing but flip-flops and it's snowing. So you give them a pair of your socks. That is what builds trust, is you're now a member of the tribe and the family. We played Buscacci, which is basically a goat carcass polo. No rules. I don't think there's a rule. And you're meant to smash into each other. That's how they become great horsemen. So when the movie, what they didn't get right is the human aspect of what it took for men on the battlefield to prepare, and then the sacrifice of bravery, and then the compassion. We had to treat the Taliban soldiers that were wounded, right? And teach them in their culture, they sometimes are very ruthless. So we had to show the American soldier about how we treat our enemy after the battle's over.
Well, I promise you, I have never heard the words goat carcass polo in my life.
Yes.
So, wow.
Yes, you need to look it up. It's amazing. You're like,
see? We got to get this going over here. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so think back to the first time you saw the movie 12 Strong. What was it like to see your story recreated on the big screen as a film?
I think the process of the red carpet was fun and fascinating, right? Seeing all the stars that you grew up with and maybe the night before, you give them a little libations together, right? That kind of intimate meeting. And then you watch the movie and you're like, holy crap, I don't remember firing 15,000 bazillion million rounds off that gun. But everybody's captivated. Then they start crying. They're like, why are you crying? There's no crying in combat. And in the end, we had so much fun. Matt Damon, I could just name these stars. The wives were over the moon, right?
Oh, of course.
And their kids actually changed the ringtones. Instead of Dad's picture, now it became Michael Shannon or whoever. It's like, wow, where's the loyalty with that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
celebrities are exciting. So, I get it.
I'm a celebrity too. They made a movie about me. Not really me, about the experience of it all. But
your dad, so they just see you differently.
They always will. They always will. You're not quite the hero everybody else thinks you are to them, but you are Dad. How about that?
That's right. That's exactly. I do commercials, and when my girls get them on their devices, Mom, you're on a commercial again. They roll their eyes. Their friends think it's cool, but they don't. Oh, you survived the lightning round. Thank you. Round of applause.
Thank you.
You did a wonderful job. So thank you so much, Scott Neal, for joining us. And thank you for answering our questions.
My pleasure.